Alright, so picking up where we left off, Mucius has just thrown his right hand in, and we don't get a direct object, well, kind of a prepositional phrase telling us where he threw it, but we have this in this ablative absolute making sense for us. So, and his right hand with the fire, the brazier, having been lit up for the sacrifice, he threw at his arm. That's really the Latin word order, and it's clear that, okay, he's throwing his arm into the fire. We don't need to say, into the fire explicitly in the Latin. So here we get this weird thing, quam cum, at the beginning, and Lafleur explains kind of that this is equal to cum eam. Okay, well that's nice, but how does that happen? This is what we like to call a connecting relative. So it's a relative pronoun, qui quod, and it's declined as we need it. These things have to start off sentences, and when they do, they simply mean it. So in this case, a feminine accusative, it. But this is a way of continuing our discussion. You might imagine that we had a full stop here with this period, but when we say which, we know we just talked about this dextra manum up there, this right hand, and that's what we're referring to, that right hand, ... which. This is almost like a run-on sentence in Latin, the which referring back to the thing that you were just talking about. I think we can imagine kind of archaic English saying, the which, blah, 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 something that's kind of legalese. That's what these connecting relatives do. And because they have to be first, they'll even jump ahead in order of our actual, kind of subordinating particle here, this cum, which is going to start cum clause. So when it, cum eam. So that's when Lafleur is giving us this shortcut translation of all of this. He's absolutely right, but he's not explaining that it's a connecting relative that has to be the first word in the sentence, and that's why it's not only not eam, but actually preceding the cum. So cum eam, when it, that is the hand, just as, and then again Lafleur helps telling us that we've got a ablative absolute with a main verb sticking in there. So we got this verb, again it's the subjunctive, it's working within this clause. So this is going to be the direct object, the hand. So when he had roasted, when he had burned it, just as, so this Velut is kind of working with the ablative absolute we have over here, just as with his soul, with his spirit, having been alienated, that is, taken away, removed from sense. So what does that mean? Well, it's as if when he's holding his hand, he's not holding his hand in here and screaming, he just thrusts his hand into the fire and is behaving as if he cannot feel it, like his soul, the kind of, and when we say soul, we might really talk about central nervous system, right? We're thinking his perceiving ability. And this is all, poetic because we had just seen animus earlier to mean courage, pluck, all these things, his willingness to kill and be killed. Here we have it as the kind of sensory faculty. These things are related. So, again, to start and kind of translate this whole sentence, when, just as if, we might say, just as if his soul was completely removed from sense, as if he could not feel anything, he roasted his hand, nearly thunderstruck, prope attonitus, and this is where we get the word astonished from, kind of clearly, the king, that is, by the miracle. So this is an ablative of means, because this is miraculous, that someone could be burning off his hand without crying, without giving an inch. So the king is thunderstruck, and so that when we have this first cum clause, and we get another one, cum ab sede, so from his seat, and we know it's his seat because we have that sua there. So ab sede sua proseluisse, so a nice pluperfect subjunctive that we're used to having. And in this case, in these situations, it really just means a past tense verb. So jumped out. So the king, so from his seat he jumped out. And here we have amueque. So here's our connecting and. This is going to be our second verb, and this is ordered. Again, from eubeo, this is the third principal part. It's pluperfect, so it's coming from the perfect stem, eusi. So he jumped out from his seat, and he ordered the young man, so this is the direct object of the verb, to be removed. So again, this is our passive infinitive. We'd just seen this earlier with his order. He had ordered earlier that, let's go all the way back up here, he orders in the kind of present tense that the fires be placed around. Here we have, he orders that the young man be removed from the sacrificial altar where all the fires were. And he says, you, truly, indeed, you, go away, he said. So, I mean, he's freeing him at this point. Not just saying, I'm annoyed with you, go into prison. No, he's saying, leave here. Against yourself, rather than against me, you've dared hostilia. So we know our word hostis, masculine or feminine, enemy. So these are enemy things. So you've dared to be an enemy to yourself rather than to me. You better am. So again, this is the order verb, but note that it's in the first. So I would, and we also have here it's in the present subjunctive. So note that we're in direct speech. So this Uberum doesn't have to do anything with the come clause at this point. This is the I would, I should, and then Lafleur glosses this, which is a really tricky kind of fixed expression, which means congratulations. So I would order congratulations. I would congratulate one. So I would order there to be, with great, a kind of ablative of description here. I would, get a plaque, a reward thing that said, good job, if on behalf of my country, my fatherland, this very, so ista, we talked a little bit about in class today. This is another kind of pronoun, a fairly demonstrative one, and it expresses either anger, kind of antagonism, but it can also express just kind of disbelief, remarkable. So this remarkable virtue, staret, so again an imperfect subjunctive, and then this one, that imperfect subjunctive, is working it with this if clause. So here we had one, I would, I should, and then this if clause is still kind of, these work together. If it were the case that on behalf of my country there was this kind of virtue withstood, then I would order there to be congratulations. So we might translate, I should give great honor if on behalf of my own country this sort of virtue happened. Now, by the law of war, so we're saying we're in between different nations, there are different law codes, but there's kind of this understood code of law. So now by the code of law, liberem te, free you, you are free. So this is a kind of factative kernel. When I say factative, I'm talking about one of those things that we've got a subject and verb, and it turns a direct object into something that's equal. Sometimes we'll call it a double direct object. I am making flour into cake. So I am sending Demito, and this is again from the perspective of Porsenna. Now, by the code of law, I am sending you away, a free man, and intact, not harmed, outside of having harmed himself, and inviolated. From here, hink. So this is the demonstrative hic, hike, hawk, but in a adverbial kind of, sorry, that should be a short O, hic, hike, hawk. In an adverbial way saying away from this place. We also have ilink, we have away from that place. We can talk more about this later, but now I am sending you away, a free man, both intact and inviolate. So this is kind of a legalistic phrase right here, saying I didn't harm an enemy outside of a battle context. I'm sending you away without having done any harm. Don't claim that I actually hurt you. You hurt yourself. So again, a kind of legal CYA here on Porsenna's part. Of course, he's a king; he can do whatever he wants, but it's the way that Livy is kind of portraying this. So he's saying, "Hey, there's something transnational about virtue, and something that is so brave. So if you were to have done this on my side, I would have been very impressed, and it's kind of unfair for me to punish you, especially when you've already punished yourself. I'm going to send you away. This is deeply impressive, right? I mean, I think it's a great story, but then I also think, yeah, we would, if this were to happen right in front of you, especially if as a king you weren't necessarily exposed to all the horrors and problems of, you know, pre-modern life, this was a moving thing for Gaius Mucius to do, and he really has gotten somehow to the heart of this formerly hostile king, maybe by being hostile to himself. So great story. We're not going to continue on at all with the Latin in this class, but Scaevola, which is I've called Gaius Mucius a couple times, means kind of left-handedness because he's thrown his right hand in, and now he's the left-handed. This becomes a name that gets used later in Roman culture, the Scaevola. Gaius Mucius is not the only one, but this becomes his nickname, and you'll see that this happens in Latin. We have, Scipio Africanus because he had great military success in North Africa. There are these kind of honorific names that get added: Pompey the Great, Alexander the Great, and then we have Gaius Mucius the left-handed, because he really does deserve some kind of special honor for what he's done for Rome. I hope you found this fun, and we'll see you next time when we actually pick up Pliny's letters. See you then.